right, great. Hi, everybody. I am Suzanne Fanning, and I am the president of the Word of Mouth Marketing Association. We are known to our friends as WOMMA, and hopefully you all know this, but we are the leading nonprofit trade association for the word of mouth and social media marketing industries. Okay, so why are we here today? It is because of this. We want to help you bring home the gold. This November, we're going to be recognizing the very best marketing campaigns of the year with our prestigious WOMMY Awards. We always get lots of questions about what it takes to win, how you should present your campaign, and really what it means to your career to win a WOMMY. So this year, as a gift to you, we decided to assemble a panel of experts, our past winners, and they can give you those answers peer to peer. So with that, I'd like to welcome to our Hangout our panelists, Ted Wright from Fizz, Brandon Whalen from Room 214, and Ashley Keetle from 22 Squared. Okay, let's jump right in. Question number one, let's start with the basics. What is the foundation of a passionate and influential word-of-mouth marketing campaign? Ted?
So the basis of a great word-of-mouth marketing campaign is, did it come with a story that's interesting, relevant, and authentic? Was there a problem that you identified with your client? Did you come up with an interesting and creative way in order to solve that problem? And then what were the results of that? And for us at our shop, and also when I was a judge and when I was running the WOMMYs a couple of years ago, the best presentations, the best submissions always came down to money. Like, they gave us, this was the problem, this is what we did, this is how much money they gave us, this was what happened with the money, aren't we cool? That's basically the ideal submission for the WOMMYs, and that's what makes a great campaign.
Awesome. Brandon, how about you? Do you have an opinion on kind of getting back to the basics?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of piggyback off Ted there and just really emphasize the storytelling aspect of a great WOMMY campaign. So any great word-of-mouth campaign is going to do an incredible job of telling a really interesting story. So that's kind of the heart of any campaign that's going to be successful and actually connect with people. So if you really want people to pay attention, you want them to connect with your message, you have to begin by being a good storyteller. That's the reason, that's the way our brains are wired to receive information and process that information. It's why kids can go to school and barely pay attention, but come home and blast through thousands of pages of Harry Potter. So it's kind of a natural instinct that I think all great word-of-mouth campaigns should take advantage of.
Great. Ashley, how about you, the fundamentals?
Absolutely. I will also piggyback off of what Ted and Brandon said. I think, there are 5 key considerations. It starts with the idea. Is it relevant or disruptive? Does it turn convention on its head? We have about 8 seconds, the average attention span of someone, to catch someone's attention and really get them paying attention to whatever we're trying to say. And it has to be one of those things, relevant or disruptive, or turn convention on its head to really get people's attention. And then, is there some sort of value for the end user? It could be as simple as giving them a laugh, or like we did for our clients, the Costa Rica Tourism Board and the WOMMY that we won, giving them trips to Costa Rica and getting them to talk about those trips. Also, we can't underestimate simplicity. Really, what you're saying should be simple, and then what you're asking the people to do that you want to talk about your campaign should also be simple. If there are huge barriers to entry or it's complicated, they're not going to talk about what you're asking them to. Also, the ability to support your message through paid media is a fantastic thing because it ensures some degree of mass reach. And then lastly, really thinking through how you're going to document your story. The guys talked about the story being so important, and it's true. And how are you going to tell that story? And pre-planning that, I think, is really important.
Okay, great. And I also want everybody out there to know that we have a Fundamentals of WOM certificate program starting up in a couple of weeks. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more, or someone on your staff would like to learn a little bit more about the basics, you might want to go to our site, WOMMA.org, and check out that certificate program, because it's going to be a really, really good one with lots of great learning going on. Thanks a lot. Okay, so back to the program. Ted. It was a few months ago, I think, that you were moving your office and you were packing up stuff. I think it was maybe in the middle of the night, and you texted me and you said, wow, I really come to realize that everything important to me that I need to take, I can fit in like a shoebox. And I want you to know that my WOMMY Award is one of those things I'm going to take. Okay, so I thought that was great. I thought it was a nice story. Tell me, what does winning a WOMMY mean to you, and why is it so important that it went in that shoebox?
So thinking about it from just the purely agency side of the world, what a WOMMY does, particularly a gold WOMMY in some of the more competitive categories. What that does is it allows a third party to say to everybody else that you want to work with, or that you're currently working with, these are the best people in the world right now at doing word-of-mouth marketing. And that ends up, if you look at the history of the gold WOMMY in the momentum category and a couple other categories, that's really, really, really good work. On the brand side, I think the WOMMY is important. It's important to do all the work and to do it well in order to get the judges to really understand what you were trying to do, because it's been great for our clients to go back in the office. For people who are not familiar with word-of-mouth marketing, even though they probably should be because they're doing it for their company, it allows them to easily socialize about word-of-mouth, about what they've been doing, and really gives some good context and a concrete thing, a little thing you can set up on your desk and say, hey, look at my WOMMY. Oh, here it is. That's my hand. So, for me, and for us, it was nice recognition, and it allows us to let other people say how good we are. I mean, we're convinced how good we are. I mean, that's why we do this. And other people that work with us tell their friends in companies about our work. But it was really nice to be able to do. And then the other key I would just throw out there for everybody who's going to win to make it even more special is you always let the client and the rest of your staff go up there and accept the award for you. And on behalf, I have people that we won our first WOMMY like 4 years ago. I have people that still talk about that. So that's some of the first things they ever talk about when they talk about us. So, that's why the why on the WOMMY is on the agency side. It's good for getting new clients. It's good for talking to your current clients. And on the brand side, it's good to be able to socialize what you're doing, because the more socialization, the bigger empire you can build in your company.
That's great. Thank you, Ted. Okay, so Brandon and Ashley, your past campaigns have won WOMMY Awards as well. Can you tell us what was unique about your WOMMY winning campaign that you feel really separated it from the competition? Brandon.
Yeah, so our WOMMY winning campaign was for a company called Foodies Gluten Free. They're the biggest provider of gluten-free food, or they're the leader in the gluten-free category, I think across the world at this point. But what was really key with the campaign that we submitted for the WOMMY with them is, they had a lot of trust in the story that drove their brand. They had a really strong understanding of what they were, and they knew their customers were emphatic about the company. They were really excited. So they trusted in the word-of-mouth process, and built the tools that allowed their fans to, easily go out and spread. They called it spreading the joy, sharing the joy of Foodies Gluten Free. So they really trusted in the word-of-mouth process. And what we ended up doing is building a Facebook app that just allowed their fans to hop in and send a free basket of goodies, which, sending 10,000 or 20,000 baskets of free stuff to people might scare some companies off. It might seem like a whole lot of logistics, etc. But they trusted the process. They trusted their fans to, share the love they have for their product. And, once we got this campaign up and running, everybody went crazy for it. So, them just knowing that There's a lot of power behind word of mouth marketing, and trusting that was huge to make this campaign successful.
Wonderful. Ashley, how about you? What separated your winning campaign from the competition?
Our campaign won for the Costa Rica Tourism Board, a campaign called the $1 Million Gift of Happiness. And our challenge from the very beginning from the client was take their very modest budget and make some sort of splash for Costa Rica in the category that they have 0.3% share of voice. So the impact had to be huge, but the budget was very small. And I know Ted mentioned it all comes down to money, and that was where our story started a bit. We decided to take a very modest budget and make it even small by giving $1 million worth of trips to Costa Rica to bloggers and influencers and people in the news. And we gave the trips away and asked them to do nothing in return. And the response was huge. We gave some away on Ellen, we gave them away on Anderson, to bloggers, again, and influencers who talked about the trips before they traveled, during their travels, and after, and it's been a year and they're still talking about Costa Rica. So the impact was huge. We won the WOMMY, though, for the category of measurement. And we had all this great earned media value, but we needed a way to quantify it in a dollar value. So we created a proprietary method for actually calculating the ROI on the campaign. So that married with the results. For the very modest amount of money that we had to spend, the results were huge. We gained over 73 million impressions, earned impressions, and over 460 million impressions overall. We grew our Facebook fan base over 2,500%. And most importantly, our goal was to lift tourism by 5%, and we actually lifted it by 8%. So those results really paid off for our clients, and I think in turn helped us win the WOMMY.
Wonderful. That was certainly a campaign that made you feel good just to watch it. So that was really, really great. Yeah. Well, clearly all of you do awesome work, but recognizing that a little bit of competition never hurt anyone, are there any other brands or agencies that you think are doing a great job with their word-of-mouth marketing campaigns? And can you kind of tell us about it and what makes it stand out? Ted?
So for us here at Fizz, we are always impressed by John Bell and the rest of his team at Ogilvy. On the agency side, it's just good work. There's a lot of good work. There's a lot of good work that's running around down the world. And it's interesting the way John and the rest of his team have been able to take word of mouth and spread that all over the place. Specifically for brands, just a couple of shout outs, not our clients, but people that we've seen, we're like, wow, that's really good work. Stephanie Gallo and her group out at Gallo Family Wines, particularly their work on Barefoot Wine has been amazing. I mean, they have really taken, a wine and they really made it a movement, and they have made it about a very specific way of doing business, and everyone's really glommed onto that. And then finally, all of the people that were involved with Universal, with the expansion of Harry Potter and the first Harry Potter park, just an amazing job. Respectfully to whoever was doing their television, it was just awful. And I think everybody in the industry recognized it's awful. And what saved them, awful in the sense of it was just banal and nobody paid attention to it, was not talkable. And what saved them was they, from the beginning of building that park all the way through to today, they're always thinking about what things are we going to put in the park that are going to be talkable. And so when the fans came, they had an installed base of people who loved it, but they also had people that were just showing up because they had heard about it. And if you go back and you look at the data, that in 2009, 2010, the entire central part of the state of Florida was still economically viable because of just millions of people, of extra people that were coming to Orlando just to see that park. So it was an amazing ability for word of mouth to really spread globally, and it was just a really great job that they did.
I love that example. Thank you, Ted. Ashley, who are you looking at saying, wow, really nice job, well done?
Our neighbors in Atlantic Hope do a fantastic job of taking their happiness positioning and turning it into really amazing word of mouth marketing. From their happiness machine to the happy flag that they did in Denmark or the happy truck in Brazil, I think what they've been able to do is take an offline activation and turn it into an online sensation and really get content in front of people that's meaningful and it's simple. They do a really fantastic job. I also think I spoke a little bit earlier about the idea of turning convention on its head. And Little Cedars and Newcastle very recently for the 4th of July both did campaigns that took a very new spin on the 4th of July, and it was very relevant and timely, and I thought that was interesting.
Great. Okay, Brandon, how about you?
Yeah, so, being from an agency, more specifically social media agency, it's hard to pick out some campaigns from, just promoting our direct competition. We don't normally spend a lot of time promoting ourselves. Obviously, Fizz and 22 Squared doing an amazing job. But we just released a report this morning, actually, on fashion brands. So I'm sorry I'm coming from a little bit of a biased position here because I've had my head totally buried in this stuff. But I've noticed a lot of brands in the fashion category that are just doing an amazing job of, fashion's this whole industry that's very, very reliant on image. It's very kind of closed off. It's very club centric, and seeing brands that open themselves up to the criticism, open themselves up to fan feedback and all of that, and just embrace social media has been interesting to watch. So, this spring at New York Fashion Week, Bergdorf Goodman just released an entire line of new clothing on Pinterest, which for a lot of fashion brands, and I was just talking with Tim before we recorded this, but even there's a lot of old school fashion brands that would never think of changing up that formula. So another one that I love to watch is Dior. Just go to their Facebook page, and they do an amazing job of telling their story. So they really know how to take the air of mystery and apply that with the imagery that they're posting, the videos that they're posting. They've created a really, really cool image and story and applied it to that medium. So I love to see companies that are just really good at doing the visual stuff and taking something that's as mundane these days as a Facebook page and turning it into a whole new experience.
Okay, thank you. So we do have some fans out there who are watching this who have never submitted before. And what they'd like to know is, what are some tips that you past winners have for them to help them win a WOMMY Award? What are some of the best tips for how to submit? Ashley?
Sure. From the very beginning of Costa Rica's $1 Million Gifts of Happiness campaign, we were thinking about success and what success looked like. And in order to align with our clients and with our very integrated team here at 22 Squared, we wrote the case study in advance. So we scripted out exactly what we thought success would look like throughout the campaign. Who were the bloggers and influencers we were going to reach out to? When we did, what were we hoping they would say about us? And that helped us all align and make sure that we had a true north and we were moving in the right direction. And when we look back on that case study that we wrote initially, every single bit of it has come true and more. And I think that was really the crux. It started with, began our success as we started out in the process. And then you can't discount the submission itself. The judges that are looking at these submissions are looking at hundreds, and it's a lot of information to take in a very short period of time. So keeping it very simple and ruthlessly cutting away what doesn't ladder up to the key messages you're trying to tell in your success story.
Hey, Ted, what's your greatest tip?
So there's 4 parts to a really successful piece. There's the problem. Did you lay out the problem to where the judge can really understand that was a problem and get him to think, wow, I wonder how he solved that, or they solved that. Next is, what's the solve? And solves that are sexy, solves that are interesting, solves that when David Rabjohns and I were running the judging, we always thought, solves that make you stop and go, I wish I had thought of that. Those are the best solves. Like, gosh, we should have thought of that. That's awesome. And then it's about measurement, and then finally it's about showing people the money, right? Because everybody who's a judge is either an agency person that has to report up to a brand, or they're a brand person that has to report up to an internal financial boss. And so everyone's always thinking about the money. And that's tough to do. I totally agree. It's like, well, nobody wants to give the money. Well, show them why it's important. Like, if you show the money and other people are not, or they're not able to, you have a better chance, in my opinion, of winning because it's much more concrete. And that's what we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate concrete, no BS wins.
Great. Thanks, Ted.
Sure.
Brandon, what's your tip?
Yeah. So there's three things when we're submitting that we'll generally look at. The first is the business impact. That plays a lot into clearly defining the problem that your campaign tried to solve, and why that was a problem. So being very, very clear about the problem leads its way to you being able to more clearly execute or clearly explain why you were able to solve that problem. The second thing we look at, which is more involved with the campaign, is did it make an emotional impact on the audience? Campaigns that are able to do that, those are the ones that make you sit back and think, wow, that's pretty incredible. So we look for things that kind of really played to the emotional cues of the audience and the way they play in with the brand. Lastly, it's got to embody the brand story. So if it's off-brand, if it doesn't really make sense, if it's not an execution that really seems like it should be coming from this brand, it's not really going to play out well in a case study. If it's something that's completely borrowed from someone else that doesn't really seem like it comes from the personality that drives your brand, it's not going to come off as exciting as something that really nails that down.
Okay. At this point, I just want to make sure to remind everybody who's watching to enter the WOMMY Awards, because that's one of the greatest tips that I have to help you win. You have to enter to win. You can go to WOMMA.org to get more information, and when you do go there, you will find a WOMMY Awards handbook. And in there, you'll see the 8 categories, and we have great detail on each category, as well as the submission requirements, the judging, the tips, and more. Okay, now here's another really good tip for you. The early bird deadline actually ends on Monday, July 15th. So that's next Monday. If you enter by the end of the day on Monday, you will actually save $100 on each submission. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not ready. I don't have all of my stuff together. That is okay. You can actually go in, pay the early bird price, and you have over a month to get your entire submission together. So again, that's probably one of the greatest tips I have. Save $100, go in, do it by Monday, and then you have until August 23rd to actually finish your entire submission. I'd like to thank our behind-the-scenes crew, Tabitha Green, Jacob Hurwitz, and Marty Finn. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, our panelists. Thanks to everyone who's watching. Now go out there and do your best to win a WOMMY.
Yay.
Bye.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.